Hi friends, welcome back to Via Meditation channel. I've been making videos for 2 months now and I've been receiving some comments and there's engagement on some of the videos. And interestingly, some comments lead into a healthy debate, which is good because a subject like meditation and mindfulness will always have its element of subjectivity and its element of interpretation. So these debates are welcome. In this video, I want to clarify a few things. Like there have been comments which have come from some of the viewers, and they say like J. Krishnamurti was critical of mantra. He said the mantra would make a mind dull, which is correct. J. Krishnamurti and even Osho, for that matter, were critics of mantra, and the reason was exactly the same what some viewers have mentioned, that mantra can make your mind dull. It can, repetition, any kind of repetition can make things quite mechanical. So what I would like to mention here is that this critique is valid. So when we look at these subjects, we don't have to look at these subjects in binary terms, 0 or 1. This critique is valid to the extent that mantra can make you dull, mantra can make you mechanical. But then on the other side, there's a way to use the mantra. Mantra can be used as dharana, as specified in the system of Patanjali, the Ashtanga Yoga. So if you're using mantra correctly, it will be effective. So you cannot be mechanical about a mantra. So mantra has to be recited. If you go away, you go in a thought, you have to come back to mantra. So there has to be discrimination which has to be active. So that is the responsibility of a meditator. If you're using a method like mantra, there are chances that you can become dull. There are chances that you can become mechanical. So you have to be more alert so that you come back to the mantra the moment you become mechanical. When I was growing up, so we had a lot of these ladies, aunties in the colony where we used to live, and they would have these bhajan kirtans and shabads in the house. And very often I would observe when I was a child also that a lot of these people would actually start with the bhakti bhav, in the bhakti emotion, but after 5-10 minutes sometimes they would become mechanical. You would see that they are shaking, they are in a devoted posture, but probably inside they're in a different thought zone. Now that is sometimes what can happen with a mantra. So in this video, what I want to do really is that why some of the masters have not advocated meditation, and why they have a little I would say some nudges to make on the subject. The other point, like sometimes people mention, is that Krishnamurti was not a great advocate of meditation. Now, what you have to understand, if you hear Mr. Krishnamurti's lectures, he says that you may be meditating for half an hour in a day, but what happens for rest of the 23 and a half hours? In that rest of the 23 and a half hours, you could be mindless. So now that is also a very valid point, that if you're just meditating for half an hour and that meditation does not spread, then that meditation will be no good. The real meditation is not the act. Actually, meditation is not doing something. Like if you're sitting in meditation in a cross-legged pose or closing your eyes, then that is not meditation. It's sort of an imitation of meditation. Meditation is something that happens spontaneously, where it's not a doing. It's actually not a doing. It's basically seeing. From a doer, you become a seer, and that is real meditation. So when I use the word meditation, I usually refer to meditation as a meditative state. Now, obviously, you cannot get into that state straight away. So there has to be building blocks. A foundation has to be raised. But once the foundation is raised, you will see that your meditation expands out of half an hour or 1 hour. It starts with that time zone, but then it expands to your waking state, and even enter your dream state. Now that is, when I talk of meditation, that is what I'm talking about, the meditativeness, the quality of meditation. Now this same thing can also be called as natural state by UG Krishnamurti. So he can say that meditation is evil, because when you sit in meditation as a practice, when you are a doer, you sometimes are attacked more by thoughts. So he's referring to that meditation, which is imitation, as evil. But the meditativeness that I'm talking about is the natural state that UG Krishnamurti agrees with. Similarly, the choiceless awareness. The choiceless awareness cannot be just 30 minutes in a day. It is a more expansive exercise. It should happen at most of the times during the day. Whether it is possible or not is a different story. Not everybody will be at that stage of evolution that it can happen all the time. But even if you can maintain a decent degree of choiceless awareness in 6 to 7 hours in a day, I think you are on a very right track. So this is one point that I wanted to clarify. Meditation is not just a doing. It's not sitting in a posture, closing your eyes. That is a beginning of meditation. But real meditation is when your thoughts are less, you are in a very natural state, you don't have too many pushes and pulls, and you can look at things with a clear mind. That is meditation. It can happen with eyes closed. It can happen in a formal meditation pose. It can happen when you're sitting with eyes open also. So the meditativeness that I talk about is flowering of meditation. So I think this is one clarification I wanted to give. See, the other thing which I want to talk about is a lot of people, a lot of masters do not advocate meditation out of compassion because they are trying to show you the shortest path. I'll give you one story, a Zen story from Zen Master Bankei. So he gives a story where he says a group of travelers were going on a trekking in a mountain, and they lose the path, and they're all thirsty. It's a warm day. So a couple of people, they venture out, they walk 2-3 kilometers, they get water, they drink it, and they bring containers back for the travelers. Now when they come back, some of the travelers have a doubt. Have they mixed something in the water? Or why are they being so kind? And the other travelers don't have a doubt. So those who don't have a doubt, they drink the water and their thirst is quenched. Whereas the people who are having those doubts do not drink it and they stay thirsty. So Bankei says in that example that the masters or Zen masters are like that. They don't want you to travel the 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers that they wasted their time on. They're giving you the shortest cut. They're giving you the water directly. Go drink it. So that is what Bankei was saying. Similarly, some of the meditation masters, after trying meditation, after doing a formal practice, come to a realization that it is very spontaneous. It can be very sahaj. And hence they say, don't go through that long route. This is the shortest cut. So that is one reason out of compassion that these masters are not advocating meditation. But there is an anomaly here in some cases. Like I love HWL Poonja. I have really benefited from Mr. Poonja ji. Now in his book, Wake Up and Roar, he gives a very beautiful example that he would meditate 3 to 4 hours in a day. And suddenly meditation left him. He was not able to meditate. Then he went to a few people, Sufis in the region. He went to some of the Christian mystics who he was in touch with. So they felt it like the dark night of the soul. Then he went to meet Raman Maharishi, his guru. When he met Raman Maharishi asked him, how did you come here? He says, I came by train. So then Maharishi asked him, where is the train? He says, I left it at the station. Then he asked him, how did you come further? He says, I took a tonga. This was old time, so India had that horse carriage. So he said, I took a tonga. I said, where's the tonga now? He says, I left it. So then Raman Maharishi said that all meditation was like the train. It was like basically a transit. It was just a transit tool. Now, just like you don't have a train with you because you've dropped at your destination, now your meditation has dropped you at your destination. You don't need to meditate. So this is exactly what happens in an advanced meditator's life. Like even today, I do formal meditation, but if I don't do formal meditation, it's okay. I try to maintain that, choiceless awareness, whatever word you want to use, or try to be in that meditative state without being in a meditative posture. But the question here is, did Poonja ji get to the state straight away? As per his own account in the book Wake Up and Roar, he did meditation for 3 to 4 hours for years. Then he probably reached a point where meditation became spontaneous. That was the final learning, and that is what he was trying to say, that you don't need to meditate you can just get there in a jiffy, in a flash. So that is exactly out of compassion that some of the masters tell that meditation may not be so much needed. Some similar accounts are also available for UG Krishnamurti and J. Krishnamurti. Like in many of his own lectures, UG Krishnamurti said that I could not, he says that calamity or the natural state happened to him in spite and despite of the efforts that he made. He says he made so much effort but he could not get. And then one day he was thrown off the merry-go-round. He stumbled upon something like a natural state. Now the thing is, he mentions that he is from the theosophical background. His grandfather was one of the main funders of the society, and since childhood he was exposed to meditation, to sutras, and many other spiritual practices. And he says, in spite and despite of it, he stumbled upon the natural state. Now, obviously, what I don't know, I cannot say is that did these spiritual practices help, like how it helped Poonja ji to bring it to a destination. From there on, he reached into a natural state, a spontaneous state. Maybe in case of UG Krishnamurti also, some of these in spite and despite activities that he did perhaps helped him. I don't know. I'm not in a position to make a definitive statement. But what I'm just trying to point out here is that what these masters who are not advocating meditation are pointing at the finality, because it is a shortcut. Likewise, in the case of J. Krishnamurti also, he was a product of the Theosophical Society. He was identified by, I'm forgetting the person's name, who claimed to be, had to have cleverance. I'm just not getting his name. So he spotted him as a potential world teacher, and J. Krishnamurti was raised with that world teacher objective in mind. So he had a spiritual training, he had very good formal education. So obviously he was also subjected to a lot of spiritual practices. Maybe, again, I'm not sure, cannot make a definitive statement. Maybe some of these practices helped in reaching a point where everything happens spontaneously and naturally. That's it for today. I wanted to make this small video. Please subscribe the channel, share the word. Let's try and spread information about meditation and mindfulness to rest of the people. Thanks for watching.